My guest today is Adrienne Barbeau. From Broadway to television to the silver screen and concert halls, as a scream queen or best-selling author, as a sex symbol through her portrayal of strong women to her advocacy for women's causes, Adrienne Barbeau's unparalleled talent and versatility has left an indelible mark in the world of entertainment. Adrienne began in theater, performing in more than 25 theatrical productions since the 70s. She originated the role of RIZZO in the original Broadway production of Grease and dazzled audiences as Berta in the national tour of Pippin, where she sang while hanging upside down from a trapeze. She leapt from stage to small screen as Carol in Norman Lear's trailblazing sitcom MAUDE, which earned her a Golden Globe nomination. Adrienne maintained a presence on television for years. She's appeared on Quincy, The Love Boat, Fantasy Island, Twilight Zone, Murder, She Wrote, Dream On, Babylon 5, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Dexter, The Drew Carey Show, Grey's Anatomy, Sons of Anarchy, General Hospital, and the amazing series CARNIVALE for HBO. She jumped to the big screen in a string of horror classics, John Carpenter's The Fog and Escape from New York, followed by Wes Craven's Swamp Thing and George Romero's Creepshow, have cemented Adrienne Barbeau as an icon in the genre. Adrienne has amassed hundreds of screen credits, including the comedies Back to School and Cannonball Run, or appearances in cult classics like Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death, or the Academy Award-winning film Argo. As an accomplished author, Adrienne penned her best-selling memoir, There Are Worse Things I Could Do, the comedic thriller, Vampires of Hollywood, and its sequels, Love Bites and Make Me Dead. She's recently assembled and co-edited Grease, Tell Me More, a collection of cast stories for the 50th anniversary of the original play. My guest has shown she can do anything. Adrienne, it's a pleasure to speak with you.
Oh, thank you, Dax. Man, what an introduction that was. That's hard to live up to. I can't do anything. I'm a terrible artist. God forbid you should ask me to even make a doodle.
Your parents were Armin Nalbandian and Joseph Barbeau. Your father quit school at 14 years old to pump gas. He would later graduate at 52 after becoming an executive for General Petroleum Products Corporation. You were born June 11th, 1945 at the Sutter Memorial Hospital in Sacramento, California. It was a Monday. The local newspaper announced your first birthday with a photo of you with a shock of black hair. The caption read, "You were 20 pounds and had 6 teeth." Your first house was on Markham.
Wait a minute. Is that true?
Yes, that is very true. That is a newspaper article.
20 pounds and 6 teeth and black hair. I didn't have any hair until I was almost 2 years old.
A year old. You were a year old, and we'll send you a picture. Yeah.
Okay, because I never had any hair until I was at least a year old. And then when it came in, it was blonde.
Interesting.
But maybe 20 pounds and 6 teeth at a year. Well, okay, keep going.
Your first house was on Markham Way in Sacramento, but your father's job had the family move a lot. First to Fresno, then Stockton, then Fresno again. You were in the Land Park area, Sacramento, by 7th grade when your parents divorced, after which you settled in San Jose with your mother in 1957. You attended Lafayette and Crocker Elementaries and San Mateo Knowles School. Many moves were during the start of summer, leaving you 3 months alone in a new town before making friends. Later, you'd spend summers and vacations at your grandparents' 20-acre grape farm outside Fresno. You've said being on the ranch was the only real home you remember. What were you like as a young child moving around with your family?
Well, I don't remember a lot, but I do want to get hold of your researcher because I got to have a copy of this. I want to send it to my sister. You found all that information?
It's all me. My dad helped a little, but it was mostly me.
Oh my gosh. Well, I need to get a hold. I need to get a hold of this podcast because I want to send it to my sister so she can refresh her memory too. As a young child, I have very few memories up until the time I was 12. I do remember because we moved a lot, as you said, and I never, I didn't know anybody until school started, so I had all summer long. I spent all my summers for the first 12 years of my life in the library. And my favorite books when I was younger were Walter Farley's Black Stallion series, The Black Stallion Revolts, and The Son of the Black Stallion, and The Return of the Black Stallion, and The Black Stallion Sulky Colt. And I do remember being on the playground, and I was the Black Stallion, and I had a group of people who were my posse, I guess, and we used to run around the playground playing horses. I don't remember much else until we settled in San Jose and I started junior high. And then, so what was I like? I guess I was pretty studious. I, again, spent my summer on the Great Farm, writing long letters to my friends back home. And I think I wrote plays, and just worked on the farm with my grandmother. I mean, cooked and baked and things like that. And I was just I don't know if that's called a normal kid, but yeah, a normal kid for those days. It might not be a normal kid for today, but
What's Under the Bed is an interview show where I speak with horror actors and filmmakers about their biographies, careers, and explore the things that shaped what scares them. Before the influence of movies, what scared you the most as a child? Was there a ghost in the attic or a monster under the bed?
somebody else asked me that recently. I'd never
Really?
been asked that question before. And truly, I don't remember ever being scared of anything. I remember one day being on the ranch, and my cousin was visiting. I think my sister was there, and one of my cousins was visiting. And there were 2 bedrooms in the farmhouse that were connected by a closet. And we figured out that you could go from one bedroom through the closet into the other when we were supposed to be napping. And so we could visit each other, And so one day I was lying on the bed, looking at the closet, waiting for my cousin or my sister, I don't know, to come through. And a snake came through instead. and I don't remember being scared. My cousin went, or my sister, who is phobic now, I know, just went crazy. I just called my grandmother, and my grandfather came and got it and took it outside and chopped it up with a shovel. But I don't remember being afraid of anything. There was one night when I was almost 12. It was the night of the Miss America pageant on television. And some of my relatives had come from Fresno, which was the big town, to the farm, I guess, for the evening. No. What happened was my grandparents grew grapes for raisins, which means that at some point in the harvesting process, they took all the grapes off the vines and laid them out on paper sheets to let the sun dry them and turn them into raisins. And we got a call from our relatives in Fresno that the rain was coming and that we had to get out and roll those paper sheets. They made it sort of like a cigarette roll to protect the raisins from the rain. And so it was dark by that time, and I was out on, it was only 20 acres, but there were no lights or anything. The moms, or the aunties and the grandmas, were in the house cooking, and those of us, the kids and the dads and the uncles, were out trying to roll the raisins into the to save the grapes. And all of a sudden I realized I was way out someplace and I couldn't even see the farmhouse. And it was really black and it was really rainy. And I do remember, I don't know if it was being scared, but I started calling for my grandpa, like, where was I and how was I going to get back to the house? But other than that, I think the things that have frightened me over the years have been losing people, or having someone leave, or having someone get in an accident or something like that. But although I have an incredible, what do they call it? Fright reflex. I mean, I can be sitting at my desk and my son or one of my sons or somebody will come to the door and I scream because, I just didn't expect it. I mean, I think if anybody did attack me, the scream would be out before I even saw them, which might save my life. I don't know. We'll see. I hope not.
You didn't see movies and there was little television, maybe Lone Ranger and the tearjerker game show It Could Be You with your grandparents, or occasionally Adventures in Music with Corla Pandit when it would broadcast on KGO-TV out of San Francisco. You began ballet, acting classes, and voice lessons before performing in children's theater at 10 years old. At 11, you were a vocalist in a recital at the Burlingame Public Library, accompanied by Mrs. Betty Whipple on the accordion. You were the lead in the operetta The Royal Playmate the same year. What sparked your love of theater and what sustained your interest with your family moving so much?
I knew there was some reason I was supposed to do this interview. I'm learning so much about myself. I think it was probably my mother sort of living through me, I think she might have liked to have done more musically or something, but at some point, like around 11 or 10 years old, 5th grade, someone said to her, oh, Adrienne has a beautiful voice, or she can sing, and so she started me taking voice lessons. She started me taking ballet when I was 3, because I think that's what you were supposed to do if you had a girl. By the time I was 12, I hated ballet, but it taught me grace, I suppose. It taught me how to walk and not fall on my face. But I started taking singing lessons when I was in 5th grade, and I was studying classical music, and learning how to enunciate, say your T's, D's, and N's, and so that your diction was good, and singing arias, and learning how to breathe and things like that. And I don't remember any, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do or anything. Although my high school yearbook, I think I say something about wanting to be an actor, but I just I didn't know television, I didn't know film really. Mm-hmm. But I think my mother must have taken us to musicals. And then when I was 15, I was working in a beauty salon in San Jose as a receptionist and cleaning floors and things like that. And one of the patrons was on the board of directors for the San Jose Civic Light Opera, which at that time was way more than a community theater, even though it was a community theater, but it was sort of a multi-million-dollar organization even at that time. And we were just making conversation. I said, oh, what are you doing? And she said, oh, we're doing The King and I. We're having auditions for The King and I, actually. And my boss said, well, Adrienne sings, you should go and audition. So okay, and I went and I auditioned for the role of Tim in The King and I. And they hired me. And that was really my first, I think I had done some children's theater and as a dancer, done some, what do they call them? performances, you know, recitals. But I started doing musicals with the San Jose Civic Light Opera. And at the same time, by that time, I was also doing musicals in high school, you know, The Boyfriend, and I can't remember what else we did. But never, ever thought that it would be a career. I mean, I didn't know that people did that for a living. You know, I just thought, we didn't know anybody in the business. I didn't know, you know, anything like that. It just was something that I did when I finished school. You know, I'd go to rehearsals, and I really enjoyed it. I really loved it. And then the San Jose Civic Light Opera had a musical comedy review touring company called Showtime on Broadway. And I was part of that. And we applied to the State Department. And a week after I graduated high school, I went over to Southeast Asia with, I think there were 18 of us. I probably was the youngest. And we entertained the armed forces for 3 months. We were, you know, we were right up on the DMZ. In fact, we were on the DMZ the day that the 10-year peace truce expired. And we were in Japan, we were in Korea, we were in Okinawa and Taiwan, and an atomic testing center called Johnston Island, where we just landed and did the show and took off because they didn't allow women on the island, or they didn't have facilities for women to spend the night. And I spent 3 months doing that. That was my first semi-professional job. We got paid $7 a day, and got to sing and dance for all of the GIs, the Army guys, and the Navy and Air Force. And when I came back, I started college, and I just figured, you know, I liked acting, and so I'd get my degree and I'd teach acting, because that's all I knew you could do if you were if you liked acting. And then I met somebody who had been in New York and had been in an off-Broadway play. And she said to me, you know, you should go to New York. I mean, you should try to do this. And that's where all the good teachers are and everything. And I thought, oh, okay. So I packed my bags and told my mother I'd give her an address when I knew where I was living. And I went to New York. I was 19. I didn't know a soul. I didn't know how bad I was compared to so many other people I was auditioning against. But I figured, you know, if nothing happens by the time I'm 25, I'll go back to college and get my degree, and I'll teach acting. And by the time I was 25, I was earning my living as an actor.
The LB Church deeded a stretch of farming land to Fresno County in 1887 for use of a thoroughfare. Church Road was a hazardous stretch of roadway with 17 risky curves over the distance of a mile. During the Depression, the area was awash with tents and lean-tos where scores of migrant workers lived among various honky-tonks and gambling dens. Crime and narcotics were rampant. The area largely emptied out after World War II, but several bars remained for years. Church Road attracted privacy-seeking lovers, and according to the police blotter, many of those trysts ended in blood with fights or crashes. It wasn't long before locals called it Snake Road. Legend has it, a mother and her 2 children were traveling Snake Road at night when she lost control on one of the many turns. The crash killed all 3. Locals began to claim the road was haunted by a woman in white calling for her lost children. Snake Road fell into disrepair and deep neglect. By the 1970s, news reports commonly referred to it as the Forgotten Road. Although there's no evidence of an accident involving a mother and daughters, many reports of robberies, murders, and fatal crashes on the road were reported in local newspapers throughout the past century. Did you know about the lady in white on Snake Road growing up, or were there other urban legends you heard about growing up near Fresno?
I've never heard that story. No, I mean, the only, the only, I don't know if you'd call them legends, but the only history I ever learned was about my Armenian grandparents coming, escaping the genocide and coming over in the 1908 through 1915. No, I've never heard that story. That's fascinating.
You were a straight A student and cheerleader at Del Mar High School in San Jose. Go Dons. You'd read Ayn Rand and see drag races with a boyfriend, but you were all about theater, as you said. After school, it was song girl practice, then rehearsals for musical comedies at night. You began working at a beauty salon, as you said, where when you were 15, you performed in a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court at school, then joined the San Jose Civic Light Opera at 16. You graduated and then toured for, again, as you've said, for the Defense Department Professional Entertainment Division with a musical review called Showtime on Broadway, sponsored by the San Jose Civic Light Opera. This was your first time away from home and your first time on an airplane. Do you think you would have gone to New York alone without this experience?
Oh, I don't know. I think I would have. I was, yeah, I think I would have. The experience was life-changing in that it exposed me to the world, and to other cultures and other people, and I think gave me an understanding and an acceptance of everyone, yeah, I would have. I wasn't afraid of anything. If I knew now, I mean, if I knew then what I know now, maybe I would have been afraid. I mean, the thought of now, just getting up and moving to a strange town where I knew no one might be a little more intimidating, but it was all one of those things where, I mean, I guess I had my mom, well, my grandmother, my mom, my aunts, all the Armenian women in my life were all very, I don't want to say independent, but they took care of business. And if there was something you had to do, you did it. And if I wanted to maybe achieve an acting career and the way to do it was to go to New York, then I was going to go to New York. My mother wanted me to go to LA, because it was closer. I didn't know anything about television or film. I thought LA was, a flesh market, whatever that was. I don't know, but Sin City or something. And I didn't know anything about that medium or that art form, I just knew being on stage. So I went.
Showtime on Broadway ends July 11th, 1963, and you continue to perform with San Jose Civic Light Opera. Your mother helped arrange for you to be a ring girl for a wrestling match on Channel 18 in San Francisco. What happened between you and the wrestler Gorgeous George?
He threw a chair at me. Don't ask me why, I don't remember. I guess it was good theater.
You study stagecraft, philosophy, and English at Foothill College in Menlo Park. The plan is to get a degree and teach drama, but on a fellow actor's suggestion, you moved to New York at 19 years old to pursue a career on Broadway, as you've said. You rent an apartment in the West Village. It is months before your first acting role, so you secure a job at Maddie's Mardi Gras restaurant to earn money. You start as a barmaid, then become a go-go dancer, but you leave before they go topless. March 5th, 1965, you land 5 months of summer stock in Michigan and earn your union card. Back in New York, you dance at Eighth Wonder. You appear on the Miguelito Valdez show for Channel 47, and there are talks for you to appear in Doomsday Flight for Universal Picture, but it falls through. Would you tell me about Michael Shagian and the stock certificate he gave you?
Michael Sahagian, yes.
Sahagian, there we go.
Sahagian. Yes.
Sahagian.
I was working as a barmaid at Maddie's Mardi Gras. And every Sunday, I think it was, or every Saturday, this gentleman used to come in. White hair, not too tall, very soft-spoken. And he always ordered a Budweiser for $1, and he always tipped $1, which was a huge amount of money in those days. This would have been 1965. And the other girls always wanted to wait on him because he was a good tipper, you know, which I thought was really venal and you know, how rude and everything. And we just would chat every weekend, or maybe he came in on a Friday afternoon. I can't remember. Anyway, one time he came in and it was a different day. And I said, "Oh, Michael, you don't usually come in on Sundays, let's say. You know, what's going on?" And he said, "Oh, I just went to see the Nutcracker Suite at Town Hall or wherever it was playing." I said, "Oh, how wonderful." He said, "Yes, it was wonderful. Have you ever seen it?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, would you like to see it? I'll get you a ticket." "Oh, that'd be wonderful. Let me, you know." So when he came in the next time to give me the ticket and I went to pay him, which he wouldn't take the money, but he opened his wallet. And I only knew him up until then as Michael. I saw his last name on his driver's license or something. "Oh, you're Armenian. I'm Armenian, blah, blah, blah." So suddenly we have this, you know, this connection. And I mean, in those days, nobody even knew what an Armenian was, you know. It was a very, you know, people just didn't know what Armenia was or where it was or what you were or anything else. So anyway, we had this connection. And Christmas came along and he said, "You know, I'd like to give you a Christmas gift." I said, "Oh, no, Michael, I can't accept anything like that. Thank you very much. But that, you know, you don't have to do that." So he came in on Christmas Eve and he had a card for me. And I thanked him and we were very busy. I never opened it until I got home that morning around 4 a.m. And when I opened it, there was a certificate for $300 worth of stock in J.W. May's department store and a check for $300 made out to me. Well, I had no way of reaching him. I just closed it up and kept it with me and kept going back to work, and he didn't come in and he didn't come in. And finally, I think it was about a month later, he came in and I said, "Michael, I can't accept this. This is, you know, this is too, I can't accept this. It's too generous." He said, "When I came from the old country, an Armenian couple helped me. I would like to return that favor. I would like you to use that money to pay for your acting classes. And I am a stockbroker. All I ask is that if you ever decide to sell that stock, you contact me and I will tell you, you know, give you my advice." So I still have the stock. I think I still have the stock. I used the money to pay for my acting classes. And then I left the job because I got the summer stock job pretty soon after that. So I left Maddie's Mardi Gras and I had no way of connecting with him. Maybe he must have given me his business card, but I never called or anything. But I ran into him on the street right before I was getting ready to go off and do summer stock. And I was so excited. I said, "Michael, I got into the union because I'm going off to do this." And he was very shy and he couldn't get away fast enough, but at least I was able to tell him that I was now a union actor, or I was going to be when I finished this 5 months of summer stock. I was going to be a union actor. And I'd never talked to him again, never lost track of him and everything. And in 1979, I was in Boston doing press for the Fog. We were at a department store and I had somebody sitting next to me who was asking the fans, you know, what's your name, so that I could autograph the photograph for them. And he said to the next person in line, and what's your name, sir? And this voice said, I think she might know me. And I looked up, and it was Michael. He was living in Boston. And I got, you know, hysterical. I jumped up and I started saying, oh, ladies and gentlemen, this man was so instrumental. And he was so shy. He sort of said goodbye and disappeared again. And then it wasn't until sometime when I was doing MAUDE, I think.
Mhm.
No, that doesn't make sense, because it was in 79 when we did the book. So it was sometime later.
Mhm.
I don't know what I was doing, but I got a fan letter. I mean, it looked like a fan letter. It came in with my fan mail from Michael's sister, saying that he was now in a retirement home, or a home for, you know, people, an assisted living kind of home. And she thought he would love to talk to me. And it was still in the days of payphones and everything. And she gave me the phone number for the payphone there. And I called him, and I was able to talk to him once more before he passed. So that's the Michael Sahagian story.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
You joined the chorus for The Fiddler on the Roof in February 1968. 7 months later, you're given the role of Hoddle, and you're sharing a dressing room with Bette Midler. You're on Broadway. In 71, you leave Fiddler for the lead in the off-Broadway musical Stag, and has you sing on stage in The Nude and Upside Down. You end the show
Stag Movie, Dex. Stag Movie was the name of it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You end the show.
But it wasn't a stag movie, but it was about making a stag movie in a musical. Go ahead.
You end the show in 5 months with great reviews and begin Grease. Grease opens at the Eden Theater on Valentine's Day, 1972. Your role of Rizzo is iconic. Reviews of your performance are glowing, and you're nominated for a Tony Award. You catch the eye of television producer Norman Lear, and he casts you in the sitcom MAUDE. You play the role of Carol Trainer for 6 years and earned a Golden Globe nomination. We recently lost Norman Lear. He is widely regarded as one of the most influential figures in the history of American television. I'm 16, and how would you describe the importance of Norman Lear's contribution to entertainment and the public discourse to my generation?
Norman used comedy to present to the world, to the audience, some very important social issues. He presented a balanced picture for the most part, but he made people think, and he made people examine their approach to life, I guess you'd say. We dealt with everything from abortion to homosexuality to medical malpractice to manic depression to you know, every important social issue and controversial social issue that we were facing at that time, and that we're still facing now. But he didn't hit people over the head with it, because he wrote such funny material, and he had such wonderful characters. I know you're only 16, and you probably never heard of Archie Bunker. You probably have heard of Archie Bunker.
I have heard of him.
But most 16-year-olds probably haven't heard of Archie Bunker. I mean, Archie was a raging racist, basically, you know, but it made you think, and it made you recognize the discrepancies in the world, and for that, I mean, Norman, he changed the face of television, because he used it. It wasn't just, oh, we're doing a sitcom, it's going to be funny about people falling into a garbage can or something. It was it was vital.
You met John Carpenter when he directed you in the television movie Someone's Watching Me. You were married on New Year's Day, 1979, in Bowling Green, Kentucky, by a one-armed judge. Did you ever find out how the judge lost his arm?
Well, we heard that he lost it in the machinery in the bakery that made our cake, which I think was owned by his sister or something. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was John's hometown, and we got married in his parents' house. Yeah.
The Fog is your first feature film. Most is filmed at Point Reyes National Seashore, north of San Francisco. You buy a house in the town of Inverness, overlooking your character's house in the movie. In 81, you play Maggie in Escape from New York, also written and directed by John Carpenter. It's filmed in a burned-out section of St. Louis during a heat wave. You enjoyed shopping for antiques on your time off. Is there anything special you look for when searching for antiques?
Oh, well, in those days, I was collecting quilts, antique quilts, and Fiesta ware. And I mean, Fiesta ware is it's been my dinnerware ever since then. You know, I have so much now that I'm giving it to my boys for when they move, as they move into their houses. And but yeah, I loved those were the two things that I really, because I guess they're my art form, you know. I mean, at one point I had beautiful, I mean, really valuable Amish quilts hanging on the walls. Those were my paintings, you know. I still have, I mean, they're all over the house. And we use them, and we use the potter, and we use the Fiesta ware too. So those were primarily the primary things that I sort of, and it was great fun because when you're on location, it gives you something to do, you know, after hours.
You traveled to Charleston for 7 weeks to star in Wes Craven's cult classic Swamp Thing, which includes your first love scene with a swamp monster. The film was troubled. A shrinking budget forced Wes to cut scenes. The DP was fired, then rehired when the crew threatened to quit. There was rampant drug use among the crew, and this set caught fire. You claimed it was the worst experience you had since go-go dancing under black lights at Uncle Joe's Tavern by the Newark bus stop. Does Swamp Thing remain your worst filming experience?
No. Not at all. Have you read my autobiography, my memoir?
I have.
The Rat movie was probably, actually the Rat movie, it wasn't, there was one more that I don't think I wrote about, and I can't even remember the name of it. The Unholy, I can't remember. We were shooting in New York, maybe in Staten Island or someplace, I can't remember, in the middle of a blizzard. It was like 18 degrees below. And you know, half the crew got stuck in a van overnight because they couldn't get to them, and it was just freezing. So no, Swamp Thing was not, it was not an easy shoot. And I had been very fortunate up until that point to have been involved in films that were, you know, easy shoots, but it wasn't the worst.
George Romero asks you to join his movie Creepshow and play the hard as nails Wilma Billy Northrup. You film in Monroeville, Pennsylvania. You shop for more antiques and stock up on more Fiesta ware and antique quilts. Is it true you didn't know who Wes Craven and George Romero were when you were offered Swamp Thing and Creepshow?
Yes, that's true. That's true.
You're the voice of a computer in The Thing, a mainframe computer in Demolition Man, and the central computer in the movie Judge Dredd. You've lent your distinctive voice to various video games, audiobooks, and animated series. Your portrayal of Catwoman in the Batman animated series, The New Batman Adventures, and Gotham Girls is celebrated. You've even contributed voice work in Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. Let me ask you, do you prefer fast zombies or slow zombies?
You know, I played my first zombie in a short film called Alice Jacobs is Dead, that I highly recommend. I highly recommend. She was a slow zombie, I guess you'd say. I don't know if I've ever seen a fast zombie. Are there fast zombies?
There are
zombie
plenty
movies.
of fast zombies, yeah.
I don't watch zombie movies. So
yeah, it tends to be a common occurrence in more newer films.
I see.
Mhm.
I see.
You've been asked to sing on various talk and variety shows. You opened for Roy Clark at Harrah's Club in Reno and released an album of songs in 1997. Do you think more songs have been written about love, lust, or heartbreak?
Probably heartbreak. Yeah, probably heartbreak. I mean, you can't write a country song without talking about heartbreak, right?
Yeah, that's true. You play Ruthie in the amazing HBO series Carnival. As a wizened snake charmer, you shared the screen with an Australian milk snake named Fred and the 7-foot, 15-pound diamondback boa named Taxi. Sets for the show were staged behind Magic Mountain Amusement Park in Santa Clarita. It was an amazing show that ended too soon. If the show had continued, did you know where it was heading or how it might end?
I think Daniel Knopf, the creator, had two ideas. I mean, I heard this, whether or not, I don't know if I heard it right from Dan, but he was talking about either going back to the inception of the carnival, you know, maybe back 4 or 5 years, or going forward to after the dropping of the bomb.
Interesting.
But we never got a chance to find out.
So my last question is usually a Sophie's choice, where two must die so that one may live. I'd like to do something a little different for you with you. You've memorized hundreds of pages of dialogue in your career. I wanted to read you 3 lines of dialogues and see if you could guess who said it. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, if I recognize them.
Number 1, let us affirm the truth. We are all vermin in the rat holes of the universe.
Well, the only reason I might know that is because you said rats. So I think that's called, I mean, I call it the Rat Movie. I don't even remember what it was called.
Bram Stoker's Burial of the Rats.
Thank you. Bram Stoker's Burial of the Rats. Did I say it?
Yeah, you did say
Did
it.
I say it as the Queen of the Rats? Okay,
It's the Queen of the Rats. Yep.
Before or after they squeeze the fish heads all over me so the juice would make the rats swarm on me. I don't remember when I said it, but
I think it was after, but I may be wrong.
yeah. Okay.
Number 2, you don't know what it was like. David Letterman. God, the horror of that show, the horror.
Well, maybe that was Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death.
That's it, Dr. Kurtz.
Okay. I don't remember saying it, but I recognize the term the horror from Kurtz, you know, from Marlon Brando. Go ahead.
Number 3, and the final one. Get out of my way, or I swear to God you'll be wearing your balls for earrings.
You know what? Not only was that in Creepshow, that was in General Hospital. I got to say that on CBS afternoon television in General Hospital.
You know that's amazing.
Yes, it is. It was a scene where I was going up against these 2 mafioso guys, and they were giving me grief. And, and the writer put that in there. And
that's amazing.
And the censors never got it. They never caught it. So
that's amazing. Is there anything you want to ask me before we're done?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Where can I hear this so that I can, because you got a lot more information about my life than I do.
Well, it'll be out on YouTube at What's Under the Bed on YouTube. But we can send the straight video link to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would
that's
be awesome.
great. That's great. And I mean, I have a lot more stuff coming up, and I just finished some guest. Well, hopefully they're going to be recurring roles if the series gets picked up. Actually, one of them is a YA series, Harlan Coben's Shelter. Have you been watching that on Amazon Prime?
I haven't been watching it, but I have heard of it.
Okay.
I've heard of it.
And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sitting down with me. This was awesome.
Thank you very much. It was fun for me. I mean, I learned a lot about myself. I'm taking notes as you're saying. Betty Whipple, huh? Okay.
I will stop recording.